Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about Venom, Let There Be Carnage. I didn't like the first Venom movie. I'm not even a big fan of the character, and as I was watching this movie, I remembered that I actually did get the issues of Amazing Spider-Man where Carnage first appeared, like when they came out. I was a kid reading Spider-Man comics, so I should have a lot of nostalgia since I did not think about this. I was watching the movie and I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. Don't remember any of his backstory. Is that new? And then I was like, I can't remember. Didn't Spider-Man and Venom team up and like try to find him in New York City? That's not what this is. Basically, like, I don't really care. Venom's alright, I guess. Not my favorite. I like the black suit thing alright. This movie isn't good. But it's better than a movie that felt like should have been something that came out in the 90s. This still feels like that. There used to be a time when you made a sequel to something. You'd get like the guy who was assistant director and you'd be like, here's half the budget, make it shorter so we can fit more show times in, so maybe we can make some money off this stupid thing. And it would be called like Short Circuit 2 or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Secret of the Ooze, or I don't know, Porky's 2, whatever. Venom Let There Be Carnage, which I also like that it had a cool name. Props to Venom 2 or Venom Let There Be Carnage for that. This is like that. It's fast, it's quick. The stakes are like actually lower, which is kind of funny. It really moves. It has no like qualms of being like this bigger, epic, like auteur thing. No. Andy Serkis directed this and wanted to get in and get out. And part of me thinks this is a paycheck job. Part of me thinks it started that way, but he sort of like really liked it and got into like the stupidity and the ridiculousness of Venom. And it looks like Tom Hardy's having more fun. It actually looks like everyone is totally game for this stupid movie, and they effectively made like the Conan Destroyer of Venom movies. I can't explain why this movie works. I mean, I guess that's what this video is, but in a sense you can't, because it's like the vibe or whatever. It kind of flies in the face of modern superhero cinema because it's short. It doesn't really have an axe to grind. It just wants to like have a good time, have some cool shots set up by Andy Serkis. Both like clearly cares about the special effects and the character and the story, and is also like, this is dumb but whatever. It's like pushing that LGBTQ narrative. Like there's no subtext, like gay subtext in this film. It is just text in this. Basically what this is after the events of Venom, whatever happened in that, Eddie Brock is rebuilt his life as journalist who still is on the same assignment he was at the end of the last movie, I guess. Yeah, he keeps going to see the Carnage guy, and he goes, and Cletus Carnage guy bites him, and then some of his blood with Venom in it gets into the Carnage serial killer guy, and so Eddie's like, and Eddie and Venom are fighting, and then Carnage meets his girlfriend. That was not in the original, or was it? Carnage made no impact on me. I actually remember people going like, isn't Carnage cool? And no one on the playground admitted they didn't know who, like everyone knew who Eddie Brock was. No one remembers Cletus, whatever the fuck, what's his name? Cassidy? Just like, nobody cares. And this movie doesn't care. Woody Harrelson is playing this guy who I by the way, I love being old enough to have remembered when this comic came out, and this movie is like, but that's like too old for the origin story of this movie, which starts in 96. Like, let's not have it start in 91 when the video game and all that stuff had been out. Let's not have it as a cute, that's too old. 96 though, it's like, thanks movie, fuck you. Woody Harrelson is playing a guy who's, I think, is in his 60s and looks significantly older than Eddie Brock, and it doesn't really get into it, but it's sort of weird because I don't remember Carnage being like super old and stuff. Maybe I don't, my ambivalence of even remotely caring about this character is different from what is actually written, but it feels a little weird, but this movie doesn't treat it as weird, so you're like, I guess we're going with this, and then they do. It would make sense if it was like someone in their 20s and 30s, but instead it's like Woody Harrelson, guy who could be my grandpa or whatever, is going around being Carnage. That's strange. It's like better shot than Ruben Fleischer. As amazing as that filmography was, I think Andy Serkis like clearly like knows how to use special effects. He knows how to use the symbiotes. He knows how to make cool shots with them. So the thing with this movie is, yeah, it's not good, but it's a good movie that like gets in and gets out and leaves, and you sort of don't mind it. Like, even if you hate this movie, you wouldn't mind watching it on cable, because it at least understands how sort of dumb and silly this whole thing is, and it gets straight to the point. Too many like big blockbuster movies that try to do this whole thing and say this thing about society and Trump or whatever. I don't think Venom even knew there was an election going on in any year ever. I think this movie just wants to be the ridiculous, like, violent teenage boy fantasy that it was always going to be. And guess what it is? We get to see Venom like do a mic drop. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, in a coming out party, like, we get, you know, Michelle Williams again. It's just a treasure trove of like, how does this exist? Like, how does this exist and is as decent and fun as it is? Like, it's arguably a good movie. Not arguably like I'd actually argue with you about it, but I would maybe go, yeah, why not? And that's Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Like, this is an enjoyable, weird, strange movie. It's mainly about Venom and Carnage trying to take each other out. I don't think this franchise will be looked on very fondly, probably because it's not really of its era, although they do really well. But if you're going to watch any of them, I would just watch this, because like, honestly, like, who cares what happened in the first one? Like, you know, you get it, he got the symbiote or whatever. This movie just seems to like being in its world and doing a simple story, which is remarkable for a like, it really is pretty remarkable for a sequel to sort of just get in, get out, and get the fuck out of there. You know, this movie moves so fast you kind of almost feel like you don't have anything to say about it. I often question, this movie moves so fast, sometimes I think, did I even see it? It just feels like they're sort of doing it on a lark, but they also enjoy it. It feels like a farce. You know, it feels like the actors are like, haha, whatever, we're getting a paycheck. But at the same time, it feels like they're like, yeah, but it's kind of fun to get this paycheck. Am I right? Tom Hardy is crazy enough of a guy to get this to work, to get his Venom voice to work, to like doing the physicality, to really sell the physicality of it, to, you know, be Venom and all the special effects stuff, but also like seem to like whatever the version of Eddie Brock he is. It's sort of the strangest and most interesting and inviting experience I've had for a movie that is like achingly basic, but you kind of almost like wanna just fall in line with it. You know, you just sort of, it's super watchable, even though this movie is completely ridiculous. Like, I can see people watching this over and over again, or just finding it on TV because it moves in such a way. And sometimes good direction doesn't necessarily mean the movie is good. You would like it to be. And I think Andy Serkis took a movie that could have been overly complicated and crazy. Sort of reminds me what we saw with the director of the Maze Runner films, where he basically was fighting against what Hunger Games and what Divergent, all those were doing, and made more simple economical things. This feels like he like forced a movie to be economical by cutting it down, by cutting out the bare bones and all that stuff. Almost like Avi Arad was just happy that they saved money and are probably making more. And this is actually doing well, but I could see why, because it moves at such a brisk pace. Like, if you just started watching this on TNT or something, you'd be surprised how far you'd sit down and watch this thing, because you'd be like, well, I'm almost done, so I'll just like finish Let There Be Carnage, and you'd laugh. An enjoyable Venom movie. Somehow they did it, and I think they did it by just like, Venom chases Carnage, they fight, Venom and them fight, they do some funny things. It's like, that's the whole thing. And, you know, I don't think Carnage is a great character. I think basically Andy Serkis and Tom Hardy, like, almost like through pure force of will, made this into something. And I don't know if like society ever wanted this something, or we as a cinematic landscape need it, or with superhero movies, but we have it, but it's here, and, you know, might as well just stare at it till it's over and it runs out of the room and we all forget about it and we go, but that was nice enough. I do think like it could live on just because of its extreme watchability. This says a lot about Andy Serkis as a director, and I really mean this, that he could sell a movie like this. Like, he didn't just like you know, decently direct a shit movie. He like impeccably directed a shit movie, and I appreciate that. Venom, Let There Be Carnage might be the cinematic movie that Carnage deserved, in that it's not very good, and probably much like the comics, I'm going to forget most of the plot or why I should care about Cletus Kennedy, I think, or whoever Carnage is. You thought it was kind of cool, you think you had a good time, and afterwards you're like, Carnage does look kind of neat, I guess. I mean, not on that relatable level, but on that, like, he looks pretty neat. I would sit through another Venom maybe, and I guess that's a success. I had a good enough, decent time, and the director, almost like through, the powers of cinema, somehow made Let There Be Carnage be somewhat decent through the power of cinema. And if we're going to wield this power to make true art, isn't this what the masters always intended? To take boring, kind of safe, extreme commercial Sony product and make it into something that's sort of tolerable is, I think the epitome of Carnage and what that character truly represents. So if you've seen Venom, Let There Be Carnage, and would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.